How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today, I want to talk to you about why Palantir is going to be a large position in my portfolio. So, Palantir, I've been adding to over the last month or so. I bought more today. And honestly, I think this is going to be a great company over the coming years. It's not going to be one that makes you rich by tomorrow by any means. It's not like a penny stock. It won't probably blow up as fast as Tesla has blown up over the last year. But I think this is a very solid company that, again, I'm going to be adding to as time goes on because I think it's going to do quite well. The reason for this is a couple different things, which I want to outline in this video. But before we get started, if you guys don't mind hitting the like button, I appreciate that. That helps a lot. So Palantir is a data analytics company that honestly, when you start looking into it, it's kind of hard to understand. They don't do a very good job of explaining what it is that they do. They don't do a great job of explaining why they are better than other companies in big data. It's kind of a hard company to get a grasp on, especially when you see how it's valued. You'll take a look at it right now. It's sitting at about a 44 price to sales ratio. So it's one that definitely is not cheap by any means. It's not profitable yet. They don't have positive net income. You should know it is down a lot. Before we get into why I think it's such a good company to hold, it's down about 39% from its highs. Now, it is up a little bit today as of the recording of this video. It's in around $24, but it's still a $44 billion market cap, and they have revenues just of $1 billion. So this is an expensive company right off the bat. You should know that. Second of all, you should know that they just got another big deal from the government. So they just announced that they have been selected by the National Nuclear Security Administration to provide the Office of Safety, Infrastructure, and Operations with a platform for effective knowledge management. This is a $90 million deal for 5 years. Now, this kind of shows what you get when you get Palantir. You get massive government contracts, and they seem to come in all the time. So they work with a host of different government agencies. They've been around for a while, but back in 2013, they worked with DHS, NSA, FBI, CDC, Marine Corps, Air Force, Special Operations Command, West Point, Joint IED Defense Organization, and allies. They continue to work with the U.S. Army. They have a lot of different big contracts with government agencies. Now, that has been a positive and kind of a negative for them in some people's eyes. First of all, it's very consistent work, but a lot of people label them kind of just as a government contractor, and they don't see the potential necessarily for them to get in with some commercial clients. Now, again, you can see though, they are getting large contracts consistently from government agencies. Now, it's hard to understand what they do at first. The way I think about it, and I think this has really hit home for me over the last month or so, they help clients become more efficient by analyzing the large amounts of data that they have. Now, you might be saying, okay, that's just big data in general. You should know that. But it is kind of a difficult thing to see at first when you're paying 45 times price to sales ratio for a company. This company, again, is not cheap, so you want to really understand it. And this has kind of hit home for me recently because I have access to so much data right now. On my YouTube channel, from the Patreon group, there's so much data from what people are saying to why people might not be watching and they used to be watching, or why they are watching and why they didn't used to be watching. So many different numbers and so much different data. It's really hard for one person to understand. And it's got to be massively larger or more difficult for some of these large companies or government agencies to understand, right? They have access to billions and billions of data points. And honestly, it's probably quite difficult to make sense of it all. Sure, you might be able to have a big project where you try to analyze it, but then you're probably just looking at old data, right? You're not looking at up-to-date data at that point because you're analyzing an old data set. So this company comes in and they say, hey, we have a program for that. We can help you become more efficient. We can help you with whatever your goal is, whether it is to make more money, commercial side, or whether it's a government agency trying to increase efficiency and the reaction time to different events. So that's kind of how I view it. Right now, I have hired someone to help me with some of that on the back end to help me understand why certain things are happening on the channel. And I was willing to pay a lot of money for that because honestly, I just couldn't do it myself. And I knew that it would save me more money over the long term than whatever I was spending. And that's what Palantir is doing. They are helping government agencies or helping commercial agencies increase efficiency to save time, money, increase their profitability, all these different types of applications. Now, this has helped them a great deal. You can see this is as of their last quarter. In 2020, they have increased the amount of customers at the $1 million, the $5 million, and the $10 million range in revenue. You can see that from 2019 to 2020, they've increased the number of $10 million plus clients by 50%. Same thing with the $5 million plus. They've increased the $1 million customers by 32%. So they are gaining more and more clients. So you can see that they have signed a good number of deals over even just the last quarter. They are expanding quite quickly their customer base. Now, one of the big things for me is the barrier of entry, right? I know that I'm paying 44 price to sales ratio, but they have good growth and the barrier of entry is so high, right? They already work with a lot of government agencies, a lot of government contracts, and these governments aren't just going to drop them all of a sudden, right? I mean, I guess that could happen, but these are very sticky, right? The government doesn't have to want to bring different people in and out, different companies in and out to analyze data. Like they spent a lot of time and a lot of money to get into a system that works for them. And there's certain sensitive information that they don't want to have to pass to company to company to company. They want to keep with the same general companies. So Palantir will probably stay there for the most part. Now, I looked up some of their competitors, and honestly, there aren't many competitors out there. I hadn't heard of really any of these. And do you notice something about this list? There are no large companies in here. Now, of course, I haven't done due diligence on each of these companies, but you don't see Amazon getting into it. You don't see Google getting into it. Now, of course, those are companies that are getting into a lot of different spaces, but they don't really mesh well with the government necessarily, and there is such a high barrier of entry. Palantir has been working on this for over a decade, and they've been working with government agencies, a significant number of them, for years and years and years. So there is that high barrier of entry. It's not something that you can just throw money at this point. There are certain bridges that you have to cross. There are certain relationships you have to build to get into this business. Now, looking at Palantir just on their balance sheet and their income statement here, you can see that they actually have a very high gross profit. So this is about 67% gross profit percentage. You can find that just by gross profit divided by total revenue. So the cost of their revenues isn't that high. However, they are shoveling a lot of money into R&D and selling and general admin expenses. So they do lobby. They lobby a lot with the U.S. government. They are spending a lot of money on this. Their operating income is negative $1.2 billion. But as time goes on, this is something that I think they could decrease if they really wanted to. But it makes sense to spend a lot of money on it right now because they are growing so quickly. And it makes a lot of sense to build these contracts, build up this revenue. Now, they're sitting in a very good position for their current ratio. So their total current assets are about $2.25 billion. Their total current liabilities are only 603. So they're sitting at a current ratio of about 3.5. Now that is really solid. That gives them a lot of runtime. That gives them a lot of runway here. This is putting their balance sheet in a really good, strong cash position. Now, this company is growing their revenues quite quickly. They are expecting to increase revenue by about 45% over the next quarter. So we should see them post really good numbers moving forward. They are expecting about $4 billion in revenue by 2025, about 4xing what they're doing now. That means that they will grow by about 32% a year for the next 5 years. Again, I think that this is going to increase and they're going to become more profitable as time goes on. I think, again, these are really very sticky contracts where they won't have to go out and, put in the same amount of effort to get them 5 years from now. Let's say they get a 5-year, $100 million contract. They're not going to need to put in that same effort 5 years from now to get that contract again, it will probably be a lot less expensive for them to retain that. And a lot of what they're doing is work on the front end. So they're building out a platform for these customers, but it's probably a lot more expensive at the beginning than it is at the end working with them because they already have everything set in place. Now, this company, again, is going to be one that I build up a large position in. How I'm planning on building it up is I plan on adding a little bit here and there, unless it dips a lot. If it dips again down to the low 20 range, because it's in right around 24, I might throw a good amount of money at it, but I will probably be dollar cost averaging into this just to make sure that it doesn't dip anymore. Now, that means it could go up in price too, but because I just bought a house and because of taxes coming up, I can't throw as much at it as I'd like. But again, I think this is going to be a great company to hold over the long term, and definitely one that you should pay attention to if you haven't already looked into it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys hitting the like button and checking out the link down below to Webull if you want to support out the channel. You can check out that link. You can get 2 free stocks worth up to $1,850 if you deposit $100. And there's a link down there to my Patreon if you want to know exactly when I buy and sell stocks, right when I buy and sell them. And there are about 3,600 other people in there, so you can definitely join the community there. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.